Hi everyone, it's Corey. I just want to apologize right off the bat about the awful glare that my glasses are giving. I know that it's kind of annoying and distracting, but I can't see without them. Hope you accept the apology, and I'm just going to keep them on. But today I'm going to do a video about my highlighter collection because despite the fact that I have a very like oilier skin type, I really think that highlighting is a very like integral part of my makeup routine because oily skinned people, they like to go for a relatively matte base, but I think that like an overall matte base could just look very artificial. So I like to restore like synergy with my skin and like balance it out with like deliberate highlights, like a matte center. So pretty much every day, like despite if it's like a minimal makeup day or a full makeup day, I really like to incorporate some kind of a highlight. So on that note, we'll just get started. And in my collection, I'm going to go from the kind of more subtle ones to the more intense ones. And to start that off, we will talk about let's see if this will focus, the Guerlain pressed meteorites, which is this powder right here. You can yeah, you can see it. Okay, so it incorporates a bunch of different colors. It has some white, some coral, some green, some purple, and like essentially, I think that what this all does is supposed to like balance out the skin tone, but I don't put this all over my face. The color corrective properties don't really like come through, but this just gives you an absolutely beautiful, like ethereal glow. I'm sure like you can't even really see that, but it pretty much comes off as translucent. But if you build it up deliberately on the cheeks, it kind of I don't know, it kind of gives like a kind of pale, like white-ish highlight, but it never like builds up deep enough to get like drastically white. But this just gives like a really nice glow. Like it's basically like a natural highlight. Oh, and this is in the color Mythic. This is color number one, Mythic, and I think that like this is kind of like the more conventional one, the one that like everyone knows of, because traditionally the Guerlain meteorites are in a kind of loose powder form, like they're like each of the different colors are in like its own separate like pressed ball type thing, and you like swirl them all together. This one is the pressed one. This one I definitely think I don't own the like loose ball type of ones, but I've like played around with them, and I think that this one is definitely less shimmery than those ones. This one is definitely just more kind of like a brightening powder. But see, like it doesn't build up really like all that much, but it just gives you that really nice kind of like soft focus, like ethereal highlight, so to speak. So that is the Guerlain Pressed Meteorites. And then next on the list are the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powders, which I'm sure they're like very talked about on here. I personally have the palette, which contains, from this way to this way, it is dim light, incandescent light, and radiant light. Now, all of these are supposed to be like different in their own way, but like kind of give like all like similar effects, I would say. They're used as a finishing powder, which is different from a setting powder. The texture of these is so fine that like they really don't have enough like weight to them essentially to like lock down foundation or something. So you really like use these for the effect that they give rather than like they're a powder and they'll like lock down your foundation, because they won't. But on that note, the texture of them is extremely smooth. Like I don't know how they do it, but I have never felt a powder quite like this. Like they're extremely soft, but like they don't feel powdery, but they don't feel creamy. They just feel awesome. I'm gonna start like swatching over swatches. So this one is dim light. This one is incandescent light. And this one will be radiant light. Okay. So here are oh my goodness. Okay, so here are the swatches, if you can even see them. This one is dim light, incandescent light, and radiant light. This one I would definitely say is probably the least shimmery of all of them. This one is definitely can be used like all over the face to give like a really soft focus kind of glow like the Guerlain one, but this one has a little bit more beige in it. Incandescent light out of the palette is probably the most authentic of like a highlight. It's very kind of like void of color. It's like practically white, but still very sheer and just very glow. Maybe a little bit of shimmer in this one, but still, if you're dry, I'm sure you could use this all over your face. But for me, because I'm oily, I would just hit it really right on the top of the cheekbone. And then Radiant Light is a really interesting one because I would say that it is very glowy, but it also, like, I don't know, the undertone of it is actually kind of orange, so it's very like brightening to the complexion, I would say. Not brightening, but like warming. But you definitely couldn't use it as a bronzer because it's just I don't know, like it's just not like a bronze shade. But the undertone of it definitely is more on the orange side. Um, this is really good if your under eye concealer is just looking a little bit too pale and you need something to kind of like counteract its like starkness and you need something to like buff out the edges and like that kind of effect. This is really good for setting the under eyes on probably like medium skin tones. Lighter skin tones probably couldn't get away with it because it would make your under eyes look kind of like salmony. But unless you go for that look, but this is definitely like this palette is definitely a really good introduction to the ambient lighting powders. And another ambient lighting powder that I have, which is in the full pan. Oh, on that note, the palette size of the individual powders definitely is smaller than the full-size ones. The full-size ones are actually pretty big. And this is what the full-size, sorry for the glare, this is what the full-size compacts will look like. And it has a mirror, and then this is the color Mood Light, which is described as like a pale lavender. It's supposed to be evocative of like a moody, romantic, like pink look, Let me give this a quick swatch. Put this right where my wrist starts to bend. But, okay, so it is right here. Can you see that? Okay. So anyway, this one definitely is on the more subtle side too in terms of like the shimmer content of it. And next to the other ones, it definitely does look pinker, but if you like dusted this all over your face or whatever, like you wouldn't start looking pink. It just gives like a really nice kind of like soft focus effect. Like I can probably get away with dusting this all over my face, but I don't usually because I don't know. This one definitely does give a bit of a glow, and I find that like glowy products all over my face just don't sit very well. But what this is actually genius for is, say that you have like a matte blush that's somewhere in like the cooler pink family or like the berry family, or even if you have like a neutrally shimmery blush or something in that kind of color family. If you dust this like from the apple of your cheek like back and like you could be as messy with it as possible. Well, not messy, but like just if you like bathe your cheek in this stuff, this will give you a beautiful kind of like a diffused look all over your cheek. It will kind of like be like evocative of that kind of like lavender cheek look, which you wouldn't expect like out of this because it's actually if you build it up enough like over your cheek, you can get like a kind of blushy look out of it. But yeah, it's beautiful. It has the same texture as all the other ones. Very soft. Like I don't know. These are just awesome powders. Like there's one called Diffuse Light, which is like a pale yellow one, and it's essentially matte. That I would love to get my hands on. But these are pricey. They're like $45 each. The palette's like 58, so you get more bang for your buck for that one. If there's like a color that's in it that you don't that isn't available in the palette and you have to get it individually and all that stuff. So, if you have some money to drop on a finishing powder, then these are really awesome. So that's for the ambient lighting powders. And let's see. Next on the list, I will do this one. This one is Lorac Perfectly Lit Spotlight. And this is probably your very conventional, like, champagne-y highlight. It's a little bit powdery, I would say. Like, you probably can't see it in like a swatch, but it really does sort of like with a brush, it kind of kicks up a lot of product. But it's beautiful. It's very I don't know how to even describe it. It's oh, see, let me show you this. So I don't know if you can, you definitely can see this. There's like chunks of powder that come off in the swatch. And granted, like I did just swatch pretty heavily with my finger, but like, you know, a lot of powder gets kicked up with it. So that's what I'm trying to get at with that. But on that note, it's a beautiful, like champagne-y, very conventionally, like, you know, like when you think of highlight, this is kind of like what you think. It's very smooth. It's very like smooth looking on the skin. You know, it works for like basically all skin types because it's like a oh, this keeps flopping. It's like a pale enough shade that you can like hit it on the top of the cheeks if you're like very fair, and it will just kind of like give you like a warm highlight. It will give like a conventional just like sunlit highlight for medium skin tones, and even on warm skin, even on deeper skin tones, I think this would look really nice on because you know it has like that kind of beige, like almost goldy highlight, so it won't like come out as ashy. It will be like very warming on all complexions. So I think that this is a real spot on color, and I don't know. It's a subtle highlight. It's very smooth in like consistency and in finish. So I just think this is probably like a highlight for all skin types and all skin tones. You know, it's not too shimmery, not too frosty, not too subtle. You know, it's like you definitely wouldn't put this all over your face. You would like definitely highlight with it, but you can really build this up. You can sheer it out. I don't use this that much just because I don't like the powdery aspect of it, but it's beautiful. And like all these Lorac perfectly lit powders, like they come in maybe like three different colors, and they're all beautiful. Like they all have a little bit of warmth to them. So if you're cooler tone, then you probably can get away with them. But you know, they're very warm, and I think they're all very like neutral across the board, and they all contain like this kind of like powdery finish. But yeah, so now I'm rambling about this one, even though I don't really use it that much. So let's just close this up and let's move on. Next is I think I'm just gonna keep this one just to powder highlighters because I do have some cream ones, but we won't get into that. The next one I'll talk about is this is Benefit What's Up, which this one I guess you can. It's a cream to powder, so I won't get into the liquid ones. I'll just talk about this one. This one is also another like conventionally champagne shade. It's a little bit paler than this one and contains a little bit less gold, probably a little more neutral. But this is also a beautiful highlight. It blends out really easily. You know, you can make it look like very foiled, or you can like sheer it out and it just gives like a very diffused, highlighted look. But yeah, the longevity of it is good. You know, it is a cream, so it kind of like sticks around better. You know, like you want to fallout with it, you can just like pop it right where you want it, and then like you're done. Blends out easily. And this is the mini size from like the birthday kit. This like size is actually available in like a lot of like Sephora kits and stuff where they have like trial size things. Um, but yeah, I probably got this like 2 years ago, and like you don't need a lot of highlighter, so I find that I'm like halfway through with it, and I use it decently often. I like to use this as like a layering highlight because I think that the tone is neutral enough that I can put like whatever on top of it, and it will just like bring out the luminosity. But yeah, definitely like Benefit What's Up. And next on the list is, I don't even like want to talk about this because it is discontinued. However, this seems to be something that like lots of YouTubers have procured. So I don't know. This is Dior Amber Diamond. Um, this is okay. The color isn't okay. This is probably the most accurate the color will get. Like back here, it kind of is like the concept of the Bobbi Brown shimmer bricks. If you're familiar with those, it kind of has like um, strips of separate colors, and you can use them individually. You can blend them all together. You can mix them, use them as eyeshadows. But me personally, I just put my brush all over it, and I put it on my cheeks. So this is the shade of this one. It is the one on the bottom. So this one is definitely like I think that's a very like accurate description of it is amber. Um, like, I don't know, it has a little bit of like peachiness to it, a little bit of gold, like maybe a little bit of rosiness, like beigey. I don't know. This is such a beautiful highlight for medium skin tones. Like, and this is like this. I mean, like technically with all like intense highlights, you can really like sheer them out, but this one I like to kind of wear to its full potential. And because this one is like beautiful. The texture of it is super smooth. I have probably had this for like over a year now, and you can still pretty much see like all the embossment of it. Like this is like the never-ending supply of highlight because it's just so like compact and smooth that like you never really notice wear with it. But it's like out of this world. And I think I'm probably gonna stop talking about it because then you guys are gonna want it and you can't buy it. Um, the way I got it was it got discontinued maybe like 2 years ago by now, and my friend actually had this in her stash, and she's very fair. So I was like, "Do you have Dior Amber Diamond?" Like just on a whim. And then like 2 months later, she sent me a picture, and she was like, "Is this what you're talking about?" And I was like freaking out. I was like, "Yeah, I'll buy it off of you. Like I'll give you like 70 for it." Because she told me that she never used it, so she would like be willing to get rid of it. And she was like, "I'll give this to you as a graduation present. Like, don't worry about it." And I was like super happy. And since then, I wear this all the time. This is like, this is really like my summer highlighter because I find that I can really like build it up right here, kind of bring it up onto my temples, like really lightly. Like this gives like that bronzed, sunlit glow, that sunny, summery glow, whatever. So that's Amber Diamond. So sorry that like I don't understand why brands do that where they discontinue like their best products, like because these shimmer powders, these DiorSkin shimmer powders, there was one called Rose Diamond along with Amber Diamond, and it was like a pink one, and they were like impeccable. But they discontinued them, and then they brought out some like new ones that they were like, I don't even know. They're not as good though. Like I didn't even bother with that because it was like chalkier, not as whatever. Whatever, that's your Amber Diamond. Um, Next on the list is, this video is getting long, I should probably like wrap up with these two. This is the Maybelline Master Highlight in Natural 251. This is another limited edition color, but all of them kind of like give this effect like in this range. This is actually a really weird um, color. Okay, so it is under Amber Diamond, and you can like this is like a very sort of true gold highlight, like the kind of gold that almost has a little bit of like brassy green tones in it. Like this is kind of like that beigey nickely type nickely type glow. Like I don't know, like I don't wear this too often just because I find that the color is just really unusual. But it definitely does have a similar finish to Amber Diamond. Like it's very intense. You can sheer it out. Like it's just that beautiful, like metallic-ish glow. But yeah, the color is just unusual. I got this at like a Big Lots type store because it's like discontinued, so that's where like they house the discontinued stuff. But yeah, it's unusual, but I can kind of dig it. If I'm going for like a really bronzy look, I find that this kind of helps balance out like the orange tones with its like weird kind of cool green base. So I like to wear this sometimes, like if I go for like a very bronzy look. But besides that, like the actual powder is very smooth, like minimal like kickback of powder, and it really is beautiful. Just a kind of weird color. So if you can get your hands on it, play around with it and see how you like it. So that was Maybelline Master Highlight in 251 Natural. And to wrap up this video, if you guys are still even watching, is the Chanel Camelia de Plumes highlighting powder. And this was part of this year's holiday collection, 2014. This is probably like my new obsession when it comes to highlighters. This thing, first of all, this embossment is insane, like beautiful. And like, oh, this one is like, trying to find a clean finger. This one, the color is described like on the site and stuff as platinum, and that's like pretty accurate. Like worst place to swatch ever. Like it's the one that's running vertically. Like this highlight is so crazy. because in the pan it looks like almost like white silver, but on the skin it kind of like shears out with a little bit of like a pale gold tone, so it almost like neutralizes itself out, and it's like crazy. Like the consistency of it is so smooth. Like there's like no excess powder in this ring, and I've been using this so much for the winter. And like it's white, and I'm like a ow, and I'm like a relatively like I'm a solid medium skin tone, and this does not look ashy on me or whatever, or like too fair. I actually have it on my cheeks right now, and you can see that it's so smooth, like so synergistic with the rest of my skin, and just so bright. And can't get enough of this. Like, and I probably got this like 2 months ago, and I've been using it like constantly. But like the pattern is still like relatively intact. I can see a little bit of wear, but this was pricey. This was like $80. So if you have the money to drop on a very unique, um, unconventional, like beautiful highlight, then definitely go for this. This is definitely a splurge, but it's like top notch. And that was Chanel Camelia to Plumes. And after 20 something minutes, I think that that's wrapped up. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave your questions, comments, concerns, catty fightings. Okay, don't leave that. But just like leave anything down in the bottom bar. Subscribe. I'll probably try to put out some more videos within the week. And yeah, I hope you guys have an awesome day and take care.